welcome to all. Team KZN would like to thank you for the opportunity of allowing us to present to you this very interesting self-motivation video on how to master the art of public speaking. I believe at some point we have all found ourselves in the situation where we needed to present something, and we had sweaty palms, we had jitters, we forgot what we needed to say. It's okay. We need to acknowledge that we are addressing human beings, most of the time I'd like to think, and we all go through this. So that is why it is very important to understand what the triple P means. To plan, prepare, and present. When you know your knowledge and you know your material, you automatically gain confidence in what you want to say. Also, finding the right audience is just as important. I would like to share with you today a very personal story. And I will then explain to you why I chose the story. So I had to commemorate my gran, and I was very nervous as well as very emotional on that day. And I decided, with the crowd looking at me, I almost felt it was judgy eyes. So I thought, why not tell tales? So I decided to tell them this very interesting incident that took place. So there was this day where my brother was all dressed up to attend a function, and I was sitting next to my gran. So he walks up the driveway, and she looks at me and she says, "Oh, he's got such a lovely shirt on." So I turned to her and I said, "What did you say?" "Oh no, he's looking so nice. He's got such a lovely shirt on." So I said to her, "Ma, it is not shirt, it is shirt." And she looks at me and she says, "Look here, we are not Europeans, to talk in that way and say shirt and not shirt." So to me, it was so funny. I really, really enjoyed telling that story, only because I continued with a little bit more tales that the audience were absolutely enjoying. And I found that with speaking about things the audience can relate to, that helps you when you look at them and you see them giggling and laughing to what you are actually talking about, or nodding with acceptance to, you are now doing the right thing. You can now talk about things more confidently, only because you know that they are listening to you by the interaction you are receiving from them. And I think it's very, very, very important to be able to speak about things that people can relate to, where you invite interaction into your speech, whatever topic it may be. I chose this personal story because at that time I felt it was appropriate. So of course, we make sure that whatever we want to speak about is appropriate and the audience is, chosen accordingly. So it's okay to be nervous, but it's what you need to do to take yourself away from that. Even if you have to do a presentation to the public and you might have a question and answer, someone will ask you a question that you may not have the answer right then and there. My trick: smile. Take your time to answer. Maybe with, "Well," if you consider, and then you continue with whatever you want to say. Obviously, in relevance to what they've asked, but I think, or I strongly believe that being able to get the audience to hold their attention, you need to have that spunk, that vibrance, put a smile on your face. Your body language is very important as well, because that invites interaction. And no one wants to be listening to someone after a long day of work that's going to be there in front of them, just like, "Okay, so yes, we need to do that. And it's very important. Come on." You don't want that. You want someone who's going to say, "So this is why we need to do that. And this is how it helps you." So just make sure, guys, that you understand it is okay to be nervous, but planning your work and preparing yourself before that and presenting it in a style where you would like to actually have someone present something to you is just as important. It doesn't matter who your crowd is at a point where it may be teenagers and you say, oh, they're not really going to care on what I have to say. That is not true. Choose a topic like TikTok, for example. Teenagers love that these days. They're going to want to listen to what you need to tell them or what you decided to tell them about TikTok, because why? It's relevant to their almost everyday life. So before I go, I would like to say I hope you guys did enjoy that little clip from me, and I'm going to hand you over to Michael, who's going to be a little bit more interesting and give you a little bit more pointers. Thank you.
Thanks, Yuri. Right, traffic reports. Nah, just joking. Hi guys, excuse the angle of the phone. I'll explain why. I've actually just taped it to my steering wheel, so I am hands-free, so that I can get this snippet in. But just wanted to, one or two tips from my morning travels. It's quite a nice time. I turn the music off and kind of prepare what meetings or speeches or functions I've got to attend, and I get to talk it through to myself. And the nice thing about preparing a speech in the car or just going through some words is that when people look at you talking to yourself, they obviously can think you're on the hands-free talking to someone, but you can also pretend that you're listening to some music and singing along, and it's quite astounding that you get some responses back thinking that it's East Coast radio. So yeah, just talk to yourself in the car and swear and get it all out if you have to, but there are people around, there's eyes on you. So yeah, so this is called the conversational commute. Give it a try, guys. It's actually quite fun. How's it? Yeah, lekker. Cheers. Been joining. I planned for my music to be off and just a bit of background music. Indicator. How now, brown cow. So icebergs are always good tension breakers. Either tell a joke or a long pause for dramatic effect. If you're not that jokey type of person, then a statement or recite a poem or just make fun of yourself. Out a bit, make them at ease, make yourself at ease. Just some don'ts. I think wise when you get to the stop street or robot, stop the filming and rather do it while you're moving, because it can be a little awkward when people are looking at you staring at steering wheel. But again, that's knocks off some of the nerves and gets you prepared for some public speaking. And again, I'm not staring at a wall or a mirror. I'm out and about. I'm in the real world, although in my little car and zooting at 80 kilometers, but I still feel like I'm around and I'm involved. And now load shedding has hit, so some robots, and this is where we part ways. Also, practicing public speaking in a car. You out and about, busy driving through town at the moment, and I'm looking at people, I'm seeing strangers are making eye contact, although it's more staring than eye contact, but you'll take it. And instead of staring at a wall, I'm able to talk freely and talk to myself. I might look a bit funny, but at the end of the day, you go over things, you practice jokes. You can try and remember 5 things that you've got to say, and you've got to hit those 5 things. Oh, not this car. And I think it's something just to try. Right, so that's enough of the conversational commute. Over to you, Lindiwe. What do you have for us?
Thank you very much, Michael. That was a very insightful and very exciting view on communication. So I'm going to be looking more on the exciting side of communication, and that is more the formal communication, whether it's in the workplace or in any other environment. And I'm going to be looking at that in terms of the 4 pillars. And the first of the 4 pillars is considering your audience. You need to understand who your audience is, and that will help you communicate effectively and relay the correct kind of information in the correct manner. And with that, I apply the 4 principles. First principle is know. You need to first, as the communicator, you need to know enough on the subject matter that you're going to be communicating. And second aspect of that principle is you need to understand your audience. You need to know how knowledgeable your audience is. If you are speaking to a very knowledgeable audience, you need to not give too much information. Don't give information that they already know. Don't bog them up with gibberish that they already know. Give them only the important details and be very specific in what you're saying. And if you're speaking to a less knowledgeable audience, on the other hand, you need to allow them to relate to what you're saying. You must be able to use examples, use scenarios, so that they can relate and understand what you're saying. The second aspect is the feel. So how do you want your audience to feel about your communication after you've communicated with them? So, because information doesn't just lead to action. It's not just information that leads to action, but it's the emotion that leads to action. So the way they feel after listening to you, the way they feel after hearing what you have to say to them, is what's going to lead to the next action. And which also why it's important for you to understand what you want, which is a third principle, what you want people to do with the information. So how they feel with the information will lead to them doing what you expect them to do with the information. So you need to know how to communicate, and you need to be very specific on what you want people to do with the information, and you need to articulate it after when you communicate that this is what I'm expecting from saying A, B, C, and D to you. I expect this as a result. If you're going to be presenting, for example, to Exco, and you want to you're proposing a certain project that you want to get started, and the only way you can get them to sign up on your project, you need to be able to make them understand that you're presenting this because you want them to approve your project, and you want to approve your budget in order for them to be able to run that project. And the second pillar is to master your non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is more like spice in your food. It's more like seasoning in your food. You may be good in your verbal communication, but if your non-verbal communication is not sending out the right message, then people are not going to be really relating to what you're saying. So you need to be very aware of the cues that you're sending out to people. So stand in front of a mirror, practice your gestures, practice your physical gesture, practice your smiles, practice your facial expressions. And I know I may not be doing a very good job of that right now, but yes, you may not want to do what I do with my facial expression. And the next pillar is clarity. You need to be very clear in what you're communicating to the people. And you need to make sure that the information is landing the way you want it to. And you must remember that you are competing for people's brain space here. So you don't want people to fall asleep while you're talking. You don't want them to get bored and shut down and get lost and start dreaming about other things while they're supposed to be listening to you. So it's very important that you're clear in your communication. And the last pillar is listening. And an effective and an excellent communicator is also a very good listener. So when you're speaking to your audience, you want them to engage with you, you want them to respond to you, you want them to ask you questions. And when during your engagement with them, you need to be able to reiterate some phrases that they have. You need to pick out a few phrases from what they're saying so that you can reiterate it when you're speaking, when you're responding to what they're saying. That way, the person that you're speaking to gets that you are with them, you're communicating, you're hearing them, you are responding to what they are saying. And so when you're communicating, you need to remember these tips, and I'm gonna reiterate them again. It's the 4 pillars. The 4 pillars are considering your audience. You need to master your non-verbal communication. You need to be clear in your communication, and you need to be a good listener. And if you use these, I assure you, they will be very effective, and they will assist you to be more confident when you need to communicate to any kind of audience. And that's what we all need, because in order to be able to communicate with people, you need to boost your confidence. And if you practice these and you apply them and you remember them every time you need to communicate, then your communication will be much better and more effective. Thank you very much for listening. Over to you, Asghar. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Asghar Adam and I'm from Team KZN. So our topic of discussion is, why is public speaking so difficult for people? Knowing that you're not alone in the dread of public speaking may be comforting. There are a lot of people in the world that actually suffer and experience glossophobia. What exactly is glossophobia? It's an anxiety disorder which extends beyond simple apprehension or concerns about speaking in front of a crowd. You can have breathlessness and a pounding heart. You can experience sweating, vertigo, or nausea. You might be trembling wildly or even desire to leave the room. By attending public speaking training, many people are able to conquer their fear of glossophobia. You can conquer your fear of public speaking by realizing the power of positive thinking. The appropriate tools will help you whether you have glossophobia or just worried about your speech. Here are a few suggestions that can help you conquer public speaking phobia. I have personally attempted each of these suggestions to improve as a speaker. Decide on a subject that interests you. When you are passionate about something, it is simple to talk about it and inspire others to share your enthusiasm. So choose a subject that you are enthusiastic about if you plan to talk about it. The following topics will help you get over your fear of public speaking. Has significantly impacted you? You desire to impart to others? You strongly believe that others would profit from knowing. You have the ability to speak openly about it. Your unique experience you have given you information that you may share with others. To soothe your nervousness and increase your confidence in front of an audience, combine your passions with your desire to improve other lives. Get organized. Lack of preparation is a major factor in public speaking anxiety. Maintaining organization is one of the best things you can do. Feel more prepared and confident throughout your speech. Gather your notes and create your outline of your speech's main elements. Make a plan of your speech. Open to capture the audience's attention inside the first 30 seconds. Consider highlighting specific pages in your speech to make it easier to find. Get your visual aids and practicing utilizing if you intend to use them. Beware of their placement during your speech. Ensure that your technology is up and running, as well as know how to use your tablet, phone, or laptop. Practice, practice, practice. There is no substitute for preparation and practice. Before a speech, make a script of your main ideas and follow it, and don't read it word for word. One of the best suggestions of overcoming a fear of public speaking is to prepare a speech so well that you could respond on to any hypothetical inquiry. When someone asks me for my advice on how to enhance his public speaking and develop effective communication skills, I often refer to Albert Hubbard, who once stated the only learn to speak is to speak and speak and speak and speak. Deliver your speech while looking into a mirror. Sorry guys, I stepped away from the camera there. In front of a mirror, practice your speech as though you were speaking to a person directly. Excuse me. Pay attention to your body language, gestures, facial expressions, and movements if you're trying to figure out how to get over stage fear. You will come out as more approachable to your audience if you speak with gentle expressions and a composed posture. Always seek to improve. One never stops developing There is always room for improvement, even if you gave the best speech you could have. Stop trying to be flawless, and concentrate on giving the best speech you can right now. If your speech was recorded, watch it and make notes. How do you feel you performed? Are there any areas that you feel that you have done better? Did you exhibit stiffness? Did you make good use of PowerPoint? How often did you use How did your rhythm feel? Record everything and continue working on. Turn your fear of public speaking into confidence. It's time to start speaking now that you have practical strategies of controlling and getting rid of your fear of public speaking. The exact same formula I've used to construct speeches. And keep in mind that your achievement is only your responsibility. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Asghar. Hi, everyone. I am Notando, and I will be giving you tips on how to deliver your speech with body language that portrays confidence. First and foremost, as a speaker, know that it is acceptable to just take a deep breath. When you're nervous, your heart rate is speeding up and you are exceptionally sweaty and start to overthink. It is absolutely okay to take a pause and take a deep breath, gather yourself and compose yourself prior to continuing with your speech. The second tip is often really a controversial one. Recently, many of the speakers seem to admit an element of nervousness when delivering a speech to an audience. This is also okay. It is not a must-do, but it is okay. When you admit nervousness, as a speaker, the audience is able to relate to you more than when you try maintain a stance that you have everything under control. What you'll find is when you also admit nervousness, you tend to become more natural and comfortable in continuing the delivery of your speech. Point 3. This is not a must-do, but it is very much encouraged. Try use as little or as less notes as possible. In the delivery of your speech, having too many cue cards or notes tends to cause the speaker to look more towards the notes for help instead of engaging with the audience. Notes tend to also cause the eye contact to shift away from the audience and become more towards the notes. From this, as a speaker, you can become or be seen as more nervous in delivering your speech instead of comfortable. And instead of calming you down, it may make you more nervous. Number 4, one of the most important points I would say is for you to be comfortable in your space. Understand the layout of the space in which you are delivering the speech. Understand how much flexibility you have to move throughout your speech. Understand the kind of hand gestures that you may be able to make, or the limitations in delivering your speech. When you are able to move around, you are able to become even more comfortable during the delivery of the speech than if you have to stand firm in one position. Standing firm also gives the audience an impression of discomfort, and from that you may interpret that they are less intrigued because they can see how uncomfortable you are. Notice how comedians are actually able to move around during the delivery of their stand-up shows. From the moving around and the impressions, the audience is able to relate to you way more, and through that, you are actually able to create a relationship throughout the delivery of your speech. In this clip, the speaker is delivering a speech at a wedding. As previously mentioned, notice how the speaker is facing towards the audience to indicate full engagement. Notice how she maintains eye contact with the audience and is able to move around between the bride and the groom as well as the audience in eye contact. The speaker appears to be comfortable through the use of hand gestures and through her stance. She does not appear to be uptight because she is not standing in one position. Notice how the speaker also appears to be comfortable through the way she is holding the microphone. When you hold the microphone or whatever handheld device you are using to execute your speech, if you hold it too close, that can also indicate an element of nervousness and can make the delivery of your speech difficult. To conclude, I hope you have learned quite a bit about public speaking now, and as a beginner, feel more confident in tackling the anxieties that come with addressing an audience. As my team members have so eloquently demonstrated, it is not all doom and gloom. There is a fun side and there is a scientific side to addressing an audience. With this video, the Durban Group hopes you have a firm foundation in building your skill of public speaking. And so with that, we say all the best, do take care, and bye-bye.